We're the talk show where we're kicking it and having fun on inspirational radio. We're the talk show, kicking it and having fun. So turn your radio up.
That's my favorite part. Y'all remember that? We was on Fishbowl Radio. We
Yes,
was asking
sir.
them to turn their radio up, turn their radio up.
Yes, sir.
I definitely miss our time there at Fishbowl. That was fun being in the studio with y'all. Super excited as always to share the airwaves, the YouTube waves, the Instagram waves, the social media waves with my two favorite comedians, Lasagna Witt and Dion, Mr. Dynamite, Bishop One Good Leg Miller.
Yes, sir. He's all the above.
He got all these personalities.
Yes, sir.
He got them all. Like,
yes, sir.
You probably had an interesting childhood, huh?
To say the least.
Did you have all these? You had all these personalities when you was running these streets.
Yeah, but back then I didn't really know what it was.
You didn't know. Now they got a name for it, huh?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now they got a name for it.
Now it gets clinical.
There you go.
Well, we're going to jump right into the topic today, but and you know, one of the things when I asked that question, it made me think. It made me think because we're going to talk today about purpose. And this might be a series, it might be a one-show thing, might be a couple of shows where we talk about this. But I've had the question proposed to me, you know, recently on how a person finds their purpose. You know, we're going to talk about what purpose is. And then, you know, just in terms of God and our relationship with God, how important purpose is. So really excited to have this conversation with you guys because, you know, I know for a fact that you guys are walking in part of your purpose and, you know, doing some things. And so I kind of want to start there. But before, because I learned this from last show, let's go into the definition first of purpose, right? So, that's the wrong one.
That's all right.
That's not the definition of purpose.
Okay.
What is that?
He was yoking the purpose.
That was yoking the purpose. I think this is the definition of purpose. There we go. Yeah. So Oxford says purpose, the reason for which something is done or created or for which something exists. The purpose of this meeting, as an example, is to appoint a trustee. The verb form of purpose is have as one's intention or objective. God has allowed suffering, even purposed it. Is the example that they have there. And the scripture that, you know, I'll say foundationally that we use to talk about this, or one of the scriptures that I think came to mind when I was thinking about purpose was, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I consecrated you. I appointed you prophet of the nations. And that's Jeremiah 1:5. And so a lot of, you know, we've definitely heard that passage, I think, in a lot of different churches. You know, but I want us to kind of expound on it, you know, I think practically, and what that looks like, what that has looked like in our lives, what it can and what it will look like in our listeners' eyes, if we seek purpose. And so I know when I asked the question before in the green room, I said, Dion, how do we find purpose? What you say, Dion?
He said, "You better, hey."
How do you find anything, man? You look for it.
You look.
That's what he said. That's what he said.
everywhere.
Shell,
Look high as you can, look low as you can, and look to and fro in the earth, and you will find thine own purpose. I
Yeah,
had King Thing spin on that thing.
I hear you. That dying on purpose. You got to look for it. All right. So I guess that's the first thing. You got to start with knowing you got a purpose, knowing that you purpose for something, but then you got to look for it. So I guess the next question would be, um, obviously, is what are you looking for? What
Purpose.
type of things? No, what's the signs? Like, how do you know what's
Now we're
purpose?
not looking for the signs; we're looking for purpose. That's what we're looking for. We're not.
Oh,
let me interject,
We
Sheldon.
yeah,
out there.
please jump in there.
I got an interjection right here. I will say this: your gifts is a sign of your purpose. Like what you naturally inclined to do, like little kids, if they can draw really good, or you get a kid that can command the room's attention, like a teacher, or you get a kid that takes all the electronics apart. Your first clue to purpose is what you naturally inclined to do. That's no work, it's no effort to do it. You don't have to go to school for it. It's some gifts that's naturally you're born with, and so I think that's the first clue that gets you into the thing that you're made for is the thing you're naturally good at. Now, most people have more than one thing. You know what I mean? They have more than one place that they can operate good at. But I think that's a good starting point, especially if you're a beginner or you're just trying to see. The first thing I'll say, what am I naturally good at? Like God gave something to every man before they got to earth. Gave you a gift because we're a body. Like some are the hands, some the legs, some the arms, some the eyes, nose, mouth. Like a body has many parts. So every person has a part they play in the body. So just finding out where you flow, what comes natural and easy to you. Because if you have to struggle and work at it, usually that's not organic to you if you have to force it. But usually, like Dion, like you're a comedian. I think it comes natural. Just stuff just pop up crazy to you. Like I do the same thing. You go in a room and stuff just is funny to us that might not be funny to other people, but that's just like a natural instinct. 'Cause I never thought it was funny. I just be saying stuff and people be laughing like all my life. I'm like, I don't see nothing funny. Like this is what I'm looking at. Like what you laughing at? So something that's natural to you, I'll say that's a good starting point, a natural gift that you're good at.
Yeah, would you agree with that, Dion? Is that a
Yeah,
telltale sign? When you was
yeah.
walking these streets with these different personalities,
I definitely am
did
a
you?
comedian. I do agree with that. She is right about that. Yeah, absolutely.
She's right about you being a comedian. Uh,
100%.
how about all the other stuff? Like,
Oh yeah. That's you know that's in there.
okay, okay.
She busted
Um,
it down.
she busted it down. So I think what's key to recognize, because a lot of the people who ask me that question, would you say sometimes like the things happening around you, um, or maybe life or circumstances kind of distract you from seeing sometimes what you're really good at, or maybe not what you're really seeing it, but valuing it. And what I mean by that, like, both of you guys are comedians, right? You have some people that are singers. Masanya, you're a poet, you're a writer. There's a lot of different, I think, gifts and talents that are outward that everybody sees, and I think adds a little bit more value to it. Last week we talked about the outward. Man looks at the outward. God looks at the inner. Um, but I think sometimes people belittle their gifts, their own gifts, because it's not someone else's gifts, and so um, I think the danger to that is that they end up kind of chasing someone else's purpose
Definitely.
and ignoring what they are purposed to do, and valuing and understanding the importance of what that brings to their society and in the bigger picture, the kingdom. Especially if you're a Christian.
Oh, definitely. I had a friend that he said most of her life, for the last probably 20, 30 years, she get up every morning at 4 o'clock and God puts things on her mind. I said, oh, you're an intercessor. She was like, huh? I just get up at 4 o'clock every morning. I said, no, you're not getting up at 4 o'clock every morning with stuff on your mind and God tell you to pray about certain things. You were intercessor, but she never saw it that way. She was like, oh, my body just my automatic time clock. Some gifts are so natural to you, you don't even see it as a gift. I just get up every morning at 4 o'clock. It's like, oh no, you're an intercessor. That's I say you don't see it that way. You just think you just naturally your body alarm clock go off, but that's what you are. And then God puts people on your mind that you pray for. I said that's what you're doing. You're interceding on their behalf. Maybe something they're going through or something. God. She was like, oh, I didn't see it that way. Sometimes people don't even know. Like that's not one that you're on stage with per se. You know, you could be intercessor at church and pray before service or something like that. But that is a very needed gift in the body, and it was something she never even considered. She was a an intercessor. Like, oh, okay, not even knowing that that is one of the primary gifts that helps the body function properly is prayer, because that's what we lack a lot is prayer.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the question that I would ask both of you guys: why do you feel it's important that we as Christians really tap into our purpose?
Well, I would say why it's important to tap into purpose. I would say what I said was primary to purpose. Like I think purpose is layered because I think our number one purpose that God made man for was to worship and praise him. Like he made Adam and gave him this whole dimension. He gave him earth to rule it, to have the animals subject to him, to give him a place to live and abide, but ultimately to worship him. I think that's our number one purpose. Before you even figure out what you're here for, what you're made for, I think that's our number one purpose in life is to praise and worship God.
Yeah, and I think corporately that's the number one purpose. Um, but I think we were talking a little bit about this in the green room. I think we have a society, um, or we're. I mean, this has probably been through life or through human history. Um, but I definitely, because I'm living in this time, I see a lot more people who aren't in tune with their own purpose
Mhm.
individually, outside of that. So in the corporate body, like all of us have different things that God made us for, and like you said, natural gifts, natural things, natural talents. Um, it can be, again, the gifts in the church, right? Intercession and praying and healing and singing or comedy. Like it can be a number of different things. It can be nurturing, raising, the next president or the next
True.
great politician or whatever. It can be a number of different things. But it seems like and correct me if I'm wrong or if you have a different thought. It seems like a lot of us are chasing, like I mentioned earlier, other people's purpose, right? Like the Bible, and I don't know what scripture it is, but it tells us not to compare ourselves to other people. And I think that the detriment to that is, again, if I, for example, try to be a comedian like you two, I'm a bum at that. Like I'm not gonna succeed to the level of you guys. You know what I mean? And if I try to sing like Dion, or if I try to write like Lasagna, like I have to understand what my purpose is. You know what I mean? And what my gifts and what my talents are, and be happy with that, and know that it's valuable in some sense to everything that has to go on. And I think because again, people don't recognize that or value that stuff, we have a lot of people who aren't really walking in their purpose. And that's in the church, and that's
Yeah, that's true.
that's in life, that's in a lot of different things. And or they're trying to again walk in someone else's purpose or shoes.
That's true. And sometimes, like me, I didn't know that I was good at much till I was probably 25 years old. Like I didn't grow up writing poetry. I didn't grow up doing comedy. I didn't discover a comedic gift till I got down here. I mean, my family, they said they don't understand why I didn't know that. but I wasn't on any stages before I came to Texas. And I didn't write poems when I was young. I think I wrote my first poem. I think I was maybe 25, I think, at the time. So some gifts are not innately like so present, like right when you're 2 or 3 years old. Sometimes they're developed. I believe it was in me, but I didn't. And I will tell you, being transparent, how I found out. I was at work one day. I was assistant manager in the mall at this store. And this is what I said. It was honest conversation about. I was like, God, I don't got no gifts. I don't sing. I can't dance. I don't know what to do. What am I made for? That's what I said. And the next day I had a napkin at work on the desk, and Father's Day was coming up, and these words started coming. And I was like, and I kept writing, and they came out kind of like a poetry style. So I kept writing, and I got these words from my dad. So I said, let me write something for my mom. Then I wrote some. I said, let me write something for my brother. Then I wrote some. Let me just pick a topic. That's how I figured out that I had a poetry gift. Like, honestly, it's like, God, what am I made for? Like, what can I do? It's like, what am I here for? And literally, I think that's a basis where people chase other people's gifts. Like when your gift is not so found out at 2 or 3 years old, and you're trying to grapple and trying to figure out what you made to do. I think, Shelton, that's where you start chasing other people's gifts, or you just trying to figure it out, not even intentional sometimes, just trying to figure out, well, where do I fit? Okay, I'm gonna try this, I'm gonna try that, instead of really praying. My sister found this quote yesterday. She said, God made fish for the sea. He made birds for the air. He made trees in the ground. If you pull the fish out of the water, he can't survive. If you pull a bird and keep him in the water, he can't survive long. If you take a tree out of the ground, it won't survive. How come human beings are made for God and think we can separate from God and survive? That's mankind's biggest problem. Separating from God and trying to figure your life out on your own. That's the main problem we have in this dimension. You made for God. And so when you try to get away from God and just figure out stuff, I'm not going to say it's not going to work, because you can get some stuff. You see how the world works. You can get some stuff that work, but it won't work to the effectiveness and the beneficiary to help mankind, and not use a gift to hurt people. When God is not the influencer of your gift, you're going to use it for the wrong thing. And we see that all the time. You watch the news, watch our culture. If you can sing, you can sing. But who you sing for makes a difference. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. No, I agree completely with that. And I have a follow up question to you, for you, Lasagna. So, with your testimony about, discovering, part of your gift in,
Mhm.
at the office, like when you found out about your gift, or when it started becoming, clear to you, like, were you able to kind of look back in your life and see, examples or clues, that at a young age that would point to that, or was that just the moment, or was it just happened all at that time?
Honest,
Were you able to look back in retrospect and like, oh, that's why I like this, or that's why I gravitated more to this than that?
honestly, for me, I can't look back and say that I did. I feel like I grew up in survival mode when I say that. The city that I come from and the stuff that I would see, it like consumed. It's like, oh my God, what in the world are we doing? My life was like, oh God. And then I had a lot of siblings, with 6 of us. So I spent a lot of time like praying for them, like, God, what are they gonna grow up and do? Look at this crazy place. Like, what is really happening? Like, I don't know. I had certain awareness that stuff wasn't right. And so I felt like it was more so I got to see about my siblings, I got to see about them. And when you're surviving, sometimes you can't focus in on what you're good at or not good at when it's like a survival mode. And I think I'm not the only one. Sometimes you can't figure out things you're good at, sometimes because you're distracted by life or distracted by your surroundings or what's going on around you. So for me, honestly, I would say I can't think of anything that would lead me to that before that particular day, before I asked God that. I can't think of anything. But I can understand why.
No,
Because
that's a good note, because I do think, that life and circumstances, are used sometimes to cloud, or try to delay,
Mhm.
us recognizing our gifts and talents. And the reason why I asked that question is, you guys both know me. Like I have a heart for unity. Um, I I I've been in leadership, like in corporate America for a while, so I love supporting people and being connected to people. But kind of growing up, you know, practically, I think I looked at life very practically. So I was, I love math and science or whatever,
Mhm.
and I love to draw and paint. So um, in my mind, these were things that kind of came naturally to me. Um, Engineering made some type of sense, right, to me. So that's what I went to school for. But doing school, I worked, ended up getting like a call center job and doing customer service and sales and stuff, and really realized that I like being around people, like
Mhm.
being connected to people, and the type of job that I was pushing for wasn't necessarily going to have me around a bunch of people or a team of people, or the connection that I found like that I have a joy with. You know what I mean? So
Right.
um, I think sometimes, um, because we started off when we started talking about purposes, and I'm glad you didn't say that was the only thing. Like sometimes our gifts and talents, they definitely are a telltale sign to that, your purpose and things, but it's not necessary. Sometimes we read them wrong, I guess. You know what I mean? Like I was like, oh, I'm good at math and science and drawing, so that must mean I need to be an engineer. But
Mhm.
I'm using all of those gifts and talents in something else that didn't look like um, what what everything else or what society actually said that's supposed to look like. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so when I started walking in my purpose, and I think I was around 35. Well, I think God introduced my purpose to me ahead of time, but then I had life situations happen to where I just was like, nah.
Yeah.
So I had, my Noah moment, not Noah, but Jonah.
Mhm.
Like, nah, I'm gonna go here. That's how I think I ended up in Texas. I'm gonna go here instead, and ended up running right into my purpose. You know what I mean? But looking back at my life, I and just slowing things down and kind of meddling things through there, I saw different things that as a childhood that I cared about that maybe other people didn't care about, or that were passions for me, um, that now I kind of understand and see why God made me that way. Like I thought differently about people. I cared about people a little bit differently than some of my peers, and so um, now it's making a little bit more sense to me. That's kind of why I was asking you that question. Dion, I got the same question for you, man. Like, how did you find out um, you needed to make people laugh in life? Or would you even say? Let me ask. Let me start from the beginning. Is that your purpose? Is that part of your purpose? I might not know, my boy. You might have some other purpose. Like you might be.
Let me interject this before he answered. Dion, let me answer because Dion, before he answered, Dion can sing. He got a voice out of this world. He can preach and he do comedy. So before you answer them questions, I just want them to know, want the world to know he can show enough sing. He can carry tune for real, preach, and make people laugh. So tell us how you got into all that.
And acting.
Uh,
Yes,
yeah, I
yes. See, come on now.
man, it's it all of those things I feel are gifts that God has given to me, and I'm appreciative of them. But certainly, as it relates to purpose, I believe it's to to pour into people, um, and really help them in whatever way I can, and talking to people because I don't meet strangers. Anywhere I go, whatever, I talk to you like like we family, because in a real way we are. And so, um, but everybody's got something that they're going through, and for whatever reason, like as soon as they meet me, they want to tell me about that. No matter
Mhm.
how the conversation is going before, we always get to their issue. And when they start talking about the issue, because I've done so many things right and wrong, then I usually am able to send and sow something into their lives, that helps them to get on track and get, things right as far as that part of it. And I'm most proud of that. And I feel like that is definitely where, I get the most out of, um, being able to help people.
Oh,
So like follow up question to that would be because you talk on this show a lot where you allude to who you was back in the day and um I don't
Shelton,
was it still it didn't sound like it was involved in helping people all the time. So I guess
I
my
did
question is
I did
Sheldon
help
done went
people back
on
then,
down the
brother.
rabbit hole, didn't he, Dion? Sheldon, he done went on down the rabbit
Yeah,
hole
he
on you,
did.
Dion.
Yeah,
no. I
yeah,
want
he
to I
did.
want to understand because there's people that's going to be able to
That's
relate to
right.
that,
That's right.
man. You know what I mean? There's going to be people that
Yeah.
and maybe even in that, I say this a lot, man. A lot of people in the streets, for example, that hustle. You know what I mean? Like they hustle, they
Mm.
sell drugs and do like that. A lot of the same characteristics and personality types are the same people that are in these offices,
Mhm.
CEOs and presidents and things like that. So it's the difference between doing it in the street for one reason and then doing it in corporate America for another reason. You know what I mean? So it's really a thin line between it, to be honest with you.
Right.
But it's really about how you're using it. You know what I mean? So I would imagine that because you get a kick out and you enjoy helping people now, you probably still had that feeling then. You just had it in a different way. Am I
Yeah.
am I am I right or?
Yeah, I just didn't help as many people back then.
I like the honesty.
It wasn't my goal to be trying to help everybody, you know what I'm saying? If I could help, my close friends and family back then, that's who I helped, you know what I'm saying? But now, I understand the bigger picture, and that is that we need to reach out to everybody because it's going to take everybody for us to get where we need to go. So anybody I come in
Yeah.
contact with, I definitely try to put them up on something.
So when did you know you could be a comedian?
That's definitely something.
When's the first moment you was like, oh man, I can do this. I can be on the stage doing this.
Let my aunt tell it. It was when I was probably about between, I think, 2 and 4, and
Oh shoot, that was early.
it was
Okay.
raining outside really profusely, and my grandmother was out there, my aunt, and I think one of my uncles and somebody else, and they were standing out there just kind of watching it rain, and I was out there with them. I like to be, with the grown people. I don't know why, but anyway, they were like, "Whoa, it's raining so hard! It's raining so hard, man!" And everybody just kind of like, "Yeah, yeah," and they got quiet. And I said, "You know, it's raining all over the Metroplex." And they head snapped and they looked at me. They were like, "Ooh." Everybody wanted to go inside at that point. Everybody felt like lightning was finna strike. You know what I'm saying? They didn't know if the world was finna crack open or what. This little, what I'm saying, 2, 3-year-old boy then said Metroplex and it's raining all over. What do you know about the Metroplex, boy? How do you
Okay.
even know about this?
What are you talking about?
And why? And I just was like, my mind, would soak up different information. And I understood, even at that age, what I'm saying, that was bigger than just where we were at that point. I knew that when I said it was raining everywhere, that was everywhere to me, you know. But they,
Not just
they
there.
laugh about it now. They laugh, but then it was shocking. And that
Okay.
shock was, Jeff definitely akin to laughter. So I was like, man, I could do something like this. I could make it happen.
So you was
Okay.
2 and 4 and knew you could make it happen.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
all right. When did you start singing?
I love to laugh and I love to make people laugh back then. You know what I'm saying? I would do silly stuff and dances and all that. Just I like to have fun. I've always liked that.
Okay. Yeah, we got. Hey, let me ask you, when did you start singing? What, like how old? When did you figure out?
Um,
I think that's a curious gift to me because either you sing or you can't. I mean, people can help you perfect your pitch and stuff, but when did you find out you could sing? Like how old were you?
that was kind of young too, maybe like 7 to probably 11.
Okay.
And the crazy part about this is I had a friend, like, because at that point I hadn't hit puberty yet. So my voice was really, really high. I could
Okay.
like sing like most women.
Yeah.
And I sang a song one time, at school, and he ridiculed me so bad. He's like, man, you sound like a girl and all that. And I didn't sing anymore for like years. I was like, I ain't singing in front of nobody. Because, when he said that, people busted out laughing. I was like, okay.
Now,
All
how
right,
old
he
were you?
got me.
How old were you? How old were you at the time?
At, at that time, I was probably like 10.
Wow. So that could have really discouraged you from your gift and part of your
Yeah,
purpose because you can really
it
sing.
did
Like I've
for
heard you
a
sing.
while.
Wow. And when did you try it again?
When I was a teenager, probably 15, 16, my voice had changed at that point, and I
Mhm.
was coming into who I was, and being more purposeful and everything. I was at a pretty good church or whatever, and they was like, man, whatever you're good at, go for it. And I had a mentor who was like, you can do anything you want to. I've seen, you do this and everything like that, and he was like, just go for it, whatever
Wow.
it is.
Wow. That's awesome. Because some people get deterred from their purpose and things happen and they never go back to it. Like somebody tell you something like that and crush
Yeah,
you depending on how pivotal it was at your time. Some people have been distracted and never went back to their purpose. So that's amazing that he did it at
absolutely.
such a young age and you bounced back just like maybe 5 or 6 years later, but you still did it because we would have been missing out on quite a gift. So if you never heard him, my
Yeah.
favorite song, Mary Did You Know? That boy, woo! He bring them tears in your eyes. He said, "Now he can do it." So it would have been a great, travesty not to have a gift like that in the land if because of somebody crushing you at a young age. Because I believe some people have been
Absolutely.
crushed out of their gift that's watching us. When they see this, it's like, man, I thought I could do something. And somebody said, oh man, you terrible. You can't sing this, and that. Like somebody told you, and they never tried it again. So I want this show to make them go back and try it again. Make them
Yeah.
go back and try
Yeah,
something
definitely. Definitely.
that somebody discouraged them and try it again. So I wanted to say that. So thanks for
Yeah.
letting us tell that story with that crushing moment, and then you bounce back like 6 years later and tried it again because somebody need to hear that.
Yeah, I think that's so important, Lasagna. Because to your point, that is happening. That happens a lot, and I don't think people even do it sometimes out of malice.
Mhm.
People look at you and you know, I heard people talk like about they call it starving artists. You know what I mean? Like you ain't never gonna make no money doing no art or no
Mhm.
comedy or
Mhm.
singing and things like that. You need to get a practical, job or whatever. But
Mhm.
if God designed you and He ordained you to do something, He's gonna make a way. Like if you think about all the people who have been successful in different industries or whatever, I guarantee you they had to overcome the noises of the people around them sometimes that probably meant well and just wanted to direct. I mean, and as a parent, I come across that a lot where the balance of leading your kids and then and recommending things, but not taking away from who they are. Because, again, the scripture we started off with, Jeremiah 1:1 and 5, like God is saying he had plans for me before I was even in my mom's womb. You know what I mean? And,
Right.
what Lasagna said earlier was, so key. Like in that example that your sister had, like how can, I think part of understanding your purpose is really being connected to God. Like it
Mhm.
didn't become clear to me until I had a stronger relationship with Him, and your testimony, Lasagna, you were like, well, God, what am I made for? And um, I think just having that simple question asked, and in my experience with that, it was like he started showing me all of these different things. Well, you remember, I put this in your heart, and I make you think about this, or I built you to think about this, and to care about this, and to do things this way. You know what I mean? And um, it's so important to have that conversation with him and trust him. Again, even when he shows it to you, like, are you gonna be like, but that ain't singing, God? Like, why didn't get that Dion singing or that Dion comedy? Like, I want that. Like, no, I need to be really, really engaged with what he designed me for and why it's important, and understand the overall value in that, I think. So,
Yeah, the world says it like, stay in your lane. They talk a lot about staying in your lane and doing and that's what finding your purpose is all about. Whatever your purpose is tied directly to you. You're gonna be the best you can be at that particular thing. And that's what people have to realize is that you may see someone's gift and love it and you may even emulate it. Some. But at the end of the day, your purpose is your purpose, and can't nobody do it like you. And God made you for that thing, and you have to go after it. You have to look high and low for it. No,
Mhm.
normally you don't have to look that far. It's right there, with you. But sometimes you got to go on a quest like Johnny. You know what I'm saying, and find that thing.
Because we all born with everything we need from when you born, when that little baby is in there, everything you need to survive, everything to make it. You are born with it. It's not outside of you. It's already inside of you. It's written in your DNA. God wrote your story before you, like the verse that Shelton got, before I formed you. Before this was, you're not an afterthought. God thought of you before you hit earth. He already got a plan for your life. He already put gifts in you
Yeah.
to tap into and leave breadcrumbs so you can, either ask him or your natural gifts or your family or your church, however you get to it. But he's definitely, you are intricate, you are important. I don't care if it's 10,000 comedians, if you made to be one, the way you do it is important. If it's 10 million singers, the pitch you hit, the way you sing it, the personality you bring to it is important. A million plus preachers, the way you preach, the people you have to reach. You are designed. I don't care how many other people have your same gift. Yours is unique to the audience you need to meet. So be encouraged when you see this, that you are valuable on the earth. God didn't waste time making you. You are important and you have something to do in this dimension. You have something to say and something to do that's valuable.
let me ask you guys this question: what's the danger of not finding your purpose or not walking in your purpose?
The way the world look now, honestly, if more people did what God told them to do, we would not have these singers selling their soul to get a dollar. You in the movie industry selling your soul. Why do you have to go to great lengths, to make it? But the people, the gatekeepers in those industry, if they did their purpose, they wouldn't mistreat people so you could make it. They don't know what their purpose is. Because then so anything you don't know the use of, you're gonna abuse it. And that's called abuse. You're gonna misuse it. Because you wouldn't be a gatekeeper telling people to sell their soul to if you knew your purpose. The people valuable. You don't have to sell your soul to make a dollar to be in movies, but the people that's over it don't know their purpose, and they think it's their job to keep people out or to mistreat, humiliate people until they bow to their systems if you want to make it. It's dangerous everywhere. It's dangerous in your family when you don't step up to your call and be what you need to be. Then you get a father and the sons don't know what to do. You get a mom, you have daughters, they don't know what to do, or siblings. Anything that you are over and connected to, you are valuable to it. And when you don't do what you made to do, something's going to slip through the cracks. Somebody is not going to make it. Something is going to go lacking if you don't do what God told you to do. Whoever
Mm,
you're over, whatever
That's right.
territory you're over, whatever ministry you're supposed to be over, whatever you were made to do, if you don't do it, is somebody going to fill that space, and they may not do it God's way. They're going to, because all these gaps are being filled. It's just not being filled with godly people and doing the way that God would want them to do. So I would say we see it everywhere, not, being out of step and all these laws they pass. There's no way you're connected to God and passing laws talking about minor attracted people. There's no way you connected to God knowing what you made to do and making laws that's against people. You just wouldn't do it. So it's very important. Every time a person misses their purpose, somebody else is missing theirs. So
mm,
I think it's vitally important for our sustenance in earth, to sustainability of this dimension. That's why people have wars. Some leader mad at some leader, they popping off and doing stuff. You don't know who you connected to. You made to protect the people. You're not made to lord over people. Why do we have communist countries? Because a leader don't know his purpose. You're not made to lord over people, mistreat people. You don't need to watch the news and have control. People are not made to be controlled. But we have countries that control people. They control what you watch, what you do, the narrative, and everything. So I think it's like astronomically more important than people think it is to
yeah.
fulfill your purpose.
I think and I think those are all great points. I think the other aspect I would add is how it affects the individual. And it kind of ties into what you're talking about. A lot of people do things because they're insecure,
Mhm.
and because they don't know their purpose, they don't know what they're made of, made for.
Mhm.
They don't understand their value of what they're made for. To your point, they abuse it, and they abuse it because they're insecure about it. You know what I mean? Again, they're looking at something. They're chasing something that God maybe didn't mean for them to chase. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And I know this, like the Bible says God doesn't repent on his gifts.
Mhm.
So if he gives you the gift to sing, and I'm just going to use sing because it's a well known gift, but if he gave you the gift to sing, like obviously you have the opportunity. He gave you also a free will, so you can sing worship, you can sing for the Lord, you can sing stuff that has really good content, or you can sing stuff that is not good content. Like he's not going to take that gift back for you.
Mhm.
But when we talk about purpose, what was that gift meant for
Yes.
originally? What was it meant to accomplish? And to your point, I think that if we're not operating our using our gifts in our purpose, um, it's not going to be as effective, like you said. It's not going to serve the purpose that it was intended for. Um, would you agree with that?
And I think it does more harm. I definitely agree. I think it does more harm to a society when you have a lot of people out of purpose, because now they're mistreating people that should be in purpose, or sometimes even preventing people from their purpose in certain arenas. So definitely, I would say it's detrimental. All of us need to be connected to God, ask Him what we're made for, so we can make a difference in the earth, so we can make a difference in our family, in our communities, in our home, churches, on our jobs. And sometimes we'll think it's the big things, but it's the small things. Home, making a difference in your home, knowing the purpose of a wife or a husband or a daughter or a parent, just doing your part to be the best that you can be. So it's definitely, I think, is very valuable what you just said.
Yeah.
Vitally
Um,
important.
so I think this is something that I want to continue our conversation with in our next show as well. And a thought came in my mind when you were talking, and I don't know how it ties into purpose, but I know it has something to do with it. And a disciple popped in my mind. It was Judas.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why it popped in my mind is, and again, I don't know if this is, there's a scripture that describes this, but like Judas had a purpose
Mm-hmm.
in God's, to usher or help coordinate
Mm-hmm.
God or Jesus getting to the cross. You know what I
Yes,
mean? And
definitely.
I have personal experience with that, where there's people that I know how we can talk about it. I think it's understanding people's purpose in your life, not maybe
Oh, good.
their intended purpose that
Mm-hmm.
they're made for. I'm not saying that Judas was just born to get Jesus to the cross. I don't know. Like,
Right. I get what you're saying.
but I know the purpose as it pertained to Jesus, and his purpose was to get him into a situation. Like in my personal life, and I'll share this on the next show. I've had situations where I've had a Judas in my life that's ushered me out of a situation that I probably shouldn't have been in, and into better situations.
All right. Oh
So
yeah, we're gonna get into this.
yeah. So we'll talk more about that. But for our audience, you know, while we're in this vein talking about purpose, we definitely want to hear from you guys. Like, how did you, if you found your purpose, how did you find out about it? If you want to share that type of information with us, if you haven't found your purpose, you just got, more questions about that, make sure you comment. Make sure that let us know. Even if you don't want to put it in the comments, you can, what's that? DM, DM us, private message us, or whatever. We definitely want to hear from you, and hear your experiences with purpose. Because to Sonia's point, to Dion's point, what we've talked about today is super important for everyone to really get in their lane, to really get into their purpose, get excited about what they're here on this earth for, and have the confidence in what God has built them for, without a doubt. So
Yeah, man.
Welcome to the Talk Show, where we